Welcome to 7 Days of English Channel.
Hey there. I'm so glad you're here. If you've ever found yourself staring at the ceiling at 2 a.m., wondering, how did I get here? This story is for you. If life has knocked you down with heartbreak, loss, or just the slow unraveling of everything you thought was certain, you're not alone. Today, I want to share with you the story of a woman who had it all and then suddenly didn't. A teacher, a mother, a wife of 20 years. In just a matter of months, her marriage ended and her only son was injured in a military accident. But this isn't a story about giving up. It's a story about finding your breath when the air feels too heavy, about discovering strength in small, stubborn ways, and slowly, one messy step at a time, building a new kind of life. So, if you're feeling stuck, tired, or like your story has hit a dead end, stay with me. This isn't the end. This is the part where it all begins again. I wake up at 5:30 a.m. to the quiet clink of coffee. The kitchen clock says 78 degrees. Summer already, and I'm alone. I say a dumb joke to the coffee pot. Today's forecast, cloudy with a chance of tears. And it gurgles back. My wedding ring is off my finger, tucked in its little red box on the counter. 20 years of marriage, a lifetime of dreams. Funny, I never thought it would end like this. When the divorce papers went through, our house felt like a ghost ship. His shirts vanished from the closet, but the ketchup and mustard are still here. He even said, "You're welcome to them." I laugh, or maybe sob, at who thinks about condiments during a breakup. Kids at school now pass me the mayo jar, and I do it stiffly, like I'm still learning the rules of this new life. My world tilted another notch last week when I got the call. My son, almost 22, an Army lieutenant, had an accident during training. I told his father, he'll be fine. Even as my own voice cracked, I think about the ER waiting room in Georgia where I couldn't even go in. I replay forgetting his favorite sneakers when he shipped off. What kind of mother forgets that? I mutter at 2 a.m., staring at the ceiling fan. The night is too dark and the fan too slow. So here I am, a 46-year-old teacher who can manage a classroom of 30 kids but can't calm the storm in her own soul. I flip pancakes in the morning, but none of the kids want breakfast. I swallow half a bite and spit it into the sink. Suddenly, even small decisions, breakfast, dinner, laundry, are hard. I used to run the household with color-coded schedules. Now I'm juggling appointments, bills, and worries like a teenager in a cafeteria. And of course, I question everything. How did I let my heart break twice, once with the divorce, and now worrying over my boy, I stare in the bathroom mirror. Hello, stranger. There are dark circles under my eyes. The woman who was excited about retirement in Florida is slumping in that reflection. One step at a time, they always say. Right now, I can barely walk down the sidewalk without tripping on doubt. Still, I force a smile. Hey, Lisa, I whisper. You survived Algebra 2. You can survive this too. At school, I put on my teacher face. Mary giggles at my mismatched socks. Who needs matching socks anyway? The kids jabber about their mornings, and I nod and half laugh, half grimace. When they show me shaky handwriting or tell a silly joke, I feel a little spark. My colleagues give me a sympathetic nod when they see me frown at lukewarm coffee. They don't know all the details, just that my schedule's a mess. I give them a genuine smile and say I'm fine. Driving home, I catch myself in the rearview mirror at a red light. Tired eyes and windblown hair. I crack a wry smile at the woman who looks as messy as her schedule. Somehow it's empowering. I'm here, beyond despair. My heart is more broken than this Corolla's bumper, but it's still holding together. Maybe this is the beginning of figuring out how to fix me. Maybe I do have a future beyond teary sunsets. I don't have any answers yet, but one thing is certain. I'm still standing, even if unsteady. Tomorrow, I'll wake up and do it all. Again, brew the coffee, face the quiet, try to find a laugh or two. My story isn't over, not by a long shot. I didn't think something as ordinary as a sticky note could bring me to tears. But there it was, stuck to the inside of my desk drawer at school. You got this, Ms. L, even when you forget lunch duty. I smiled, wide for once, and blinked fast so I wouldn't cry in front of the kids. No name on it, but I could tell from the doodled star and crooked L that it was from Maya, a fifth grader who still thinks being a teacher is the coolest job on earth. I didn't forget lunch duty. I just couldn't make it that day. I was too busy holding my breath, waiting for a call back from the Army base. My son, Jake, had surgery on his shoulder. Not life-threatening, but serious enough to keep me pacing like a squirrel on espresso. He texted, "I'm okay, Ma. Chill." I wanted to scream at the phone. You almost died and you're telling me to chill? But I settled for, love you, heal fast, Mom's cooking when you're back. He sent back a puking emoji. Typical, that night I opened a bottle of ginger ale instead of wine. A little victory. Honestly, I hadn't been drinking much, but the temptation was there, that low whisper that says, just take the edge off. But something inside me, the part of me that still believed in showing up, even when everything felt broken, told me to stay clear. Instead, I sat on the porch wrapped in a blanket, watching the streetlights flicker on one by one. The neighbor's kid was rollerblading in crooked lines, helmet too big, knees too wobbly. But he didn't care. He laughed when he fell, then got back up with the same clumsy grin. I envied that, not the knees, just the bounce back. I used to have that. I think the thing about grief, and yes, divorce and fear can be grief, even when nobody dies, is that it makes you forget who you were before everything fell apart. And not in some dramatic movie scene way. It's more like one day you realize your laugh sounds foreign. Or that you haven't danced in the kitchen for months. That's what hit me Tuesday evening when Dancing Queen came on the radio while I was grading essays. I paused, pen in midair, and I just froze. I didn't dance. But I also didn't turn the song off. Progress? At school, things started to shift. Not a lot, just little moments, like when Sam, the class clown, actually raised his hand instead of shouting out. Or when Miss Tamara in the office gave me an extra 10 minutes to breathe after lunch. And then there was Principal Harris, who pulled me aside and said, "You've always been one of the strong ones, Lisa. It's okay to not be that every day." That one nearly undid me, because nobody tells the strong ones that. We're the ones people lean on. We're the ones who bring cupcakes even when we're falling apart. Hearing someone say it was okay to crumble, even for a minute, felt like exhaling after holding my breath too long. So, yeah, I'm still figuring things out. Still have nights where I sit on the bathroom floor because the tiles are cold and the world feels too loud. Still get tangled in questions like, what now? Who am I without him? Without our family dinners? Without Sunday pancakes and sarcastic texts from Jake? But then I remember that sticky note and that rollerblading kid and Dancing Queen. And something inside me whispers, you're not done yet. There was a time I thought mindset was one of those fluffy words people threw around at conferences and yoga retreats. Something you wrote in cursive on your water bottle and promptly forgot about. But now, mindset's the whole ballgame. And let me tell you, mine was garbage. I'd catch myself thinking stuff like, this is it, Lisa. You peaked. Now it's just grading papers until retirement and microwaving frozen peas alone. I'd roll my eyes at myself and still believe every word. That little voice, she was brutal, not dramatic, just relentless and familiar, like a snarky roommate who lives in your head and keeps reminding you of every bad decision you've ever made. But one morning, this was about 2 weeks after Jake's surgery, I did something weird. I argued with her. Not out loud. I'm not that far gone. But I was brushing my teeth, hair tied up in a lazy knot, staring into the mirror. And she said it again, that old voice. You're falling apart, Lisa. You're not strong anymore. And without even thinking, I mumbled with toothpaste foam. Actually, I showed up today. So that's something. I spit, rinsed, then blinked at the woman in the mirror. Wait a minute. Did I just stand up for myself? Wasn't much, didn't solve anything, but it felt like planting a little flag on some patch of emotional ground that had been overtaken by weeds, a tiny rebellion. So I leaned into that. I started writing stuff down, not in a gratitude journal with pastel pages or anything fancy. Um, just sticky notes, the back of Target receipts, grocery list here and there, things like didn't cancel on Mary even though I wanted to. Only cried once during lunch. Major win. Got Jake to laugh on FaceTime. That's gold. And slowly it started shifting. I wish I could say the clouds parted and angels sang, but no, I still forgot my keys twice, still overcooked the chicken and nearly burned the rice, still snapped at the dog for chewing my slipper and then cried because I missed someone having my back. But mindset, real, gritty, I've got dirt under my nails mindset, started forming. One day, I overheard another teacher younger than me talking about how she wanted to quit. I just don't know if I'm cut out for this, she whispered in the break room. And before I could stop myself, I said, "You are. You just haven't found your teacher voice yet. It's in there. Trust me." She looked at me like I was her own sticky note. And that's when I realized I still had value, even if I was messy, even if I was lonely, even if I sometimes let the microwave beep for 2 full minutes because I just didn't feel like moving. I didn't need to be perfect. I just needed to keep showing up for me. So I started setting the alarm 5 minutes earlier, not to be productive, but to just sit. No phone, no planner, no endless doom scrolling, just me and the coffee and the quiet. Sometimes it was boring, sometimes it was peaceful. But always, always, it reminded me I'm still in the game, not thriving, not crushing it, just not giving up. And for now, that's enough. I never thought I'd say this, but the person who gave me the best advice after the divorce was my mailman. Yep, Kevin. Retired Marine, wears shorts in the dead of winter, shows up like clockwork. One Tuesday morning, I opened the door just as he was stuffing in a crate barrel catalog and a letter from the State Retirement Board. "Morning, Lisa," he said, like he always did, and handed me the mail. Then he squinted and added, "You okay today? You look like you lost a bet with a raccoon." I actually laughed out loud. "Thanks, Kevin. I'm hanging on by a coffee filter." He gave me that serious Marine nod and said, "Well, don't underestimate coffee filters. They hold a lot of crap before they break." And just like that, wisdom from a man wearing tube socks and Velcro sandals. After that, I started paying attention to the people I'd been tuning out. The bus driver who plays jazz at the school drop-off, the teenager at the grocery store who always double bags my frozen peas because I once dropped a bag on my foot and cursed loud enough to make her blush. Even Mrs. Cortez next door who once offered me a lemon loaf she clearly didn't bake. I ate it anyway. It was awful. But the gesture, it meant something. People weren't fixing me, but they were showing up, and I realized I hadn't been letting anyone do that for a long time. See, I had this image of myself, strong, independent, gets it done, Lisa. And when the marriage fell apart, I didn't want anyone seeing the cracks. I was afraid they'd pity me, or worse, try to help. But the real truth, I didn't want to be seen as weak, so I closed doors fast. But one Thursday afternoon, I left one open, literally. My friend Naomi, we taught 4th grade together for 12 years before she moved schools. Dropped by with a tote bag full of old books and a bottle of some weird honey-infused lotion. I hadn't invited her. I hadn't returned her texts. She showed up anyway. I stood in the doorway in my house slippers and pajama top. It was 3 p.m. Don't judge me. And for a second, I almost lied. Almost said, "It's not a good time." But instead, I stepped back and said, "You want coffee or wine?" She grinned. "You got both?" We sat on my back patio for over an hour. No agenda, no therapy session, just 2 women talking about everything from classroom chaos to why jeans never fit right anymore. And somewhere between the last sip of Pinot and a story about her cat eating her AirPods, I laughed so hard I nearly fell off the chair. It felt like breathing again. That night, I didn't cry in the shower. I didn't stare blankly at the ceiling. I didn't replay old arguments or whisper, what if into the dark. I just slept. And in the morning, when I stepped outside to grab the paper, yep, I'm still that person. I noticed the sunlight hit my porch differently, not in a poetic way, just warmer, less sharp, like maybe the world wasn't trying to cut me down anymore. Maybe, just maybe, it was inviting me to keep going. There was a Saturday, early fall, warm enough for sandals, but cool enough to make me wonder where I'd packed the sweaters. When I finally cleaned out his side of the closet, I didn't do it with music playing or a box of tissues. I didn't burn anything or cry over old t-shirts. I just started folding, tossing, breathing, a little bit lighter with every hanger I emptied. For the first time in months, the silence didn't feel like punishment. It felt like space. Later that day, I took a selfie, just me, standing barefoot in the hallway mirror, holding a donation bag in one hand and a half, smile on my face. It wasn't Instagram worthy. I had frizzy hair and a hole in my t-shirt. But that photo, it felt real, and real started to feel good. I printed it out, stuck it on the fridge with a magnet that says progress, not perfection. That magnet came from a student 6 years ago who couldn't spell elephant until April, but still graduated with the biggest grin I've ever seen. Some days I stare at it like it's scripture. See, I spent so long defining myself by the things I used to be, wife, full-time mom, rock of the family, that I forgot I'm allowed to rewrite the job description. No one hands you a form and says, congratulations, you've been promoted to single adult female, 46, mildly caffeinated and moderately hopeful. Please check all boxes that apply. You just kind of figure it out as you go. And figuring it out meant making small bets on myself again. I signed up for a painting class, not because I'm good at it. I'm not. My trees look like soggy broccoli and my skies always end up purple. But for 2 hours every Wednesday, I forget about everything except brushstrokes and messy palettes. And the old woman next to me who brings chocolate-covered pretzels and always calls me darlin'. I started walking too, not the power walking, Fitbit obsessed kind. Just slow strolls around the neighborhood. I look at things I used to ignore. Halloween decorations going up in September, that one bush that smells weirdly like fruit punch. The couple who dances in their driveway when they think no one's watching. That's my favorite. Funny thing, when you pay attention, the world gets louder in a good way. Even school feels different. My students don't know what I've been through, but they can sense the shift. I laugh more. I ask them more questions. I tell them when I mess up, and they love it. One of them even said, "You seem taller now, Ms. L. I'm 5'3" on a good day." So I'll take that as spiritual height. And sure, I still have days where I walk past the wedding photo I haven't taken down yet and feel something twist in my stomach. I still reach for my phone when something funny happens, instinctively wanting to share it with someone who's not there anymore. That ache, it hasn't disappeared. But the difference now is it's not the whole story. There's room for more, room for me to become a woman who eats alone at a diner and orders dessert just because, who sings badly in the car and doesn't care if the guy in the next lane sees. Who chooses outfits based on how they make her feel, not whether they fit into someone else's taste. Room to be the version of myself I hadn't met yet, but was always waiting for me to show up. You know what nobody tells you? Sometimes the scariest part isn't what happened to you. It's realizing you don't know what comes next. That big blank space after the dust settles, it's like staring at a giant whiteboard labeled, "Now what?" For a while, I tried to fill that space with checklists. I bought a planner, a big one, with tabs and stickers, and a section called Vision Goals. I wrote things like, start yoga again, read 12 books this year, finally organize the garage. And for about 2 weeks, I was on fire. I drank green smoothies, I meditated, I even cleaned the junk drawer, which, for the record, is basically the adult version of finishing a marathon. But somewhere around week 3, I got tired, not just physically. I got tired of performing progress, tired of pretending I knew exactly where I was going just to feel like I was going somewhere. That's when I scrapped the whole idea of a 5-year plan and started focusing on what I call next 5 minutes. Like, can I sit with this cup of tea without checking my email? Can I say no to that thing I really don't want to do without guilt? Can I walk into the staff meeting and just breathe, even if I don't feel like smiling? Turns out that kind of mindset, it's way more sustainable than trying to overhaul your entire life in one Pinterest-worthy explosion of self-improvement. One Friday afternoon, I found myself sitting in the staff lounge with a half-eaten granola bar and a mountain of ungraded essays. I was this close to spiraling, thinking about everything I should be doing, everything I haven't done, every mistake I ever made since I learned long division. But then Mary, sweet chaotic Mary from the 3rd grade hall, plopped down beside me and said, "You doing okay?" And instead of saying, "I'm fine," I said, "Honestly, I'm figuring it out." She smiled. Me too. And just like that, the pressure dialed down. We're all a little lost, I guess. Even the ones who seem to have color-coded folders and smoothies with chia seeds. So now my plan, if you can call it that, looks like this. I get up, I stretch, I let the dog out, I eat breakfast even when I'm not hungry because my body deserves kindness. I grade some papers or I don't. I cry sometimes. Not every day anymore, but enough to keep it honest. I make space for small joys, candles that smell like pine forests, books with creased spines, the sound of Jake's laugh on the phone when I remind him I didn't actually burn down the kitchen, just set off the smoke alarm. I've stopped trying to build a new life in one weekend. I'm just learning how to live inside the one I've got and how to believe that it's enough. Because maybe the point isn't to have a grand master plan. Maybe the point is just to keep walking. Even if you don't know exactly where the road leads. The first time I realized I was healing, really healing, was when someone else came to me for comfort. It was a parent-teacher conference late October. The leaves outside looked like someone had spilled a giant box of crayons. Mrs. Bennett, a mom of one of my 5th graders, was sitting across from me, nervously twisting a tissue in her hand. Her son had been acting out. Nothing dangerous, just off, distracted, moody. "I'm sorry," she said. I don't know how to help him anymore. It's been rough at home. His dad and I separated a few months ago." I could have said something standard. These things take time or he'll adjust eventually. But I didn't. I leaned forward and said, "You're not alone." She looked up like she'd just heard her own language for the first time all day. And then I told her, not the whole story, but enough. About Jake's accident, about the silence in my house, about how I sometimes sat in the bathtub with the lights off just to feel quiet and small for a while. And about how slowly I'd learned to show myself a little grace. Her eyes filled. She nodded. "That helps. More than you know." We sat there, 2 women who were supposed to have it together, admitting we didn't. And that was the most together I'd felt in a long time. After that, something shifted in me. I stopped thinking of my pain as this messy thing I had to hide and started thinking of it as something I could use, not to make speeches or hand out life advice, but just to say, "Me too." I began writing little notes again, not just for myself this time. One ended up in Maya's desk after she failed her spelling quiz and put her head down in shame. "You don't have to be perfect. You just have to keep trying. You're doing great." Another landed on Mr. Thompson's chair in the break room after a brutal day of parent complaints. "You're the reason some kids smiled today, even if you didn't notice." They weren't magic spells. They didn't fix broken hearts. But They reminded people in the same way someone once reminded me that being human is hard and showing up anyway, that's the win. And let me tell you something I never expected. Helping others started helping me, not in a self-sacrificing martyr kind of way, but in the quiet healing way that sneaks up on you. I started laughing more, dancing again. I even made pancakes one Sunday for no one but me. And I sat down, poured too much syrup, and ate them at the table with music on. It wasn't the old life. It wasn't a perfect life, but it was mine. And slowly I could see it, the woman I was becoming. Not the woman who had it all figured out, but the one who didn't need to anymore because she was building something new. And that something felt strong. The thing about starting over, it doesn't look the way you think it will. It's not a clean slate. It's not some shiny new chapter where everything finally makes sense and your heart stops aching and your Tupperware lids all match. Starting over looks like choosing not to text him, even when you miss him so much it physically stings. It's driving past the hospital where your son was patched up and not falling apart behind the wheel this time. It's throwing away the sad, single-serving frozen meals and making real food again. Not because anyone else is coming over, but because you're worth it. It's laughing at reruns of sitcoms you've seen a dozen times and finally noticing you're not just pretending to be happy anymore. It's waking up without dread, or at least with less dread. I used to think healing would feel like an arrival, like I'd wake up one day and just be okay. Like the clouds would part and I'd have this clear aha moment where the past made sense and the future felt crisp and color-coded. That never happened. What did happen were small things, subtle shifts I almost missed, like standing in the shower and realizing I wasn't rushing anymore, or catching my reflection in a store window and not automatically criticizing what I saw, or getting a text from Jake that just said, "Miss you, Ma," and being able to respond with, "Miss you too, but I'm good," and meaning it. I still think about the old life sometimes, about the Sunday breakfasts, the shared grocery runs, the laughter at 11 p.m. when everyone else in the world seemed asleep, but I don't live there anymore. That house, the one built on what once was, isn't my home now. This new place, the one made of quiet mornings, honest friendships, mismatched socks, and unexpected laughter, this is home. And here's the wildest thing. I like the woman who lives here. She's softer in ways that matter and stronger in ways that count. She doesn't pretend to be invincible. She knows the value of a good cry and a long walk and a perfectly timed sarcastic joke. She's still figuring things out, but she's okay with that now. She doesn't need a 5-year plan. She just needs 5 more minutes of grace, 5 deep breaths, 5 seconds of courage to say, yes, I'm still here. I'm still trying. And if you're listening to this right now, if you're in that strange, dark space where everything feels upside down and you don't know who you are anymore, let me tell you what someone once reminded me. You don't have to know the ending. You just have to keep turning the page. Thank you so much for sharing this time with me. If this story meant something to you, even just a little, please like, share, and subscribe to support the channel. We're all walking each other home. And I'm really glad you were here for part of the journey.